So I will start the video with the end result. So I have my switches here for the driver and passenger seats. So 3 levels, 3, 2, 1, off, 3, 2, 1, off. So I recorded the video as I was working on this project, and sometimes I changed what I was doing, so please watch the entire video because in one clip I would say I'm gonna use this approach, but when I try it doesn't work, then I change it. So please watch the video in full before you start the job, and most importantly, make sure you have all the tools. You don't want to remove the seats, disconnect the battery, remove the upholstery, etc., and to realize that you don't have some piece or a tool and get stuck on that. Anyway, yeah, I like the result. I think aesthetically it looks good here, and so I'm gonna turn it on. So if I remove the key, as you can see, it's shut down, so it's only when ignition is on. All right, so yeah, sorry for moving the gear while the car is off, but it's just to show you guys a better angle. Okay, so I had the car running, and yeah, you can see it's 46 Celsius. That's on the high setting. I think it took around like maybe 6 to 8 minutes to reach it. So I'll compare with my back seat, which doesn't have so yeah, 27.6, and again this guy 44. So yeah, they do work. Hi guys, so today I'll be installing the heated seats kit in my Porsche Cayenne 957. The kit is around $40 on eBay. It comes for 2 seats. So it's usually 4 pieces. I'm showing only 2 because I will be only installing the seat pieces, not the back ones. As you can see, it's like a mesh, and all the heating cells are interconnected, which is good because you will notice in your Cayenne seats there will be like seams in the seat where you would have to cut a rectangle, and since those are connected in many ways, when you cut a piece it will still heat after and before the cut. So the kit comes with a relay. Mine has 4 wires, not sure why. But anyway, the red one that has a fuse on it goes to the battery positive, so constant power. The other red wire, it goes to the ignition only kind of power, so only when the key is in, the ignition is on, that's where you connect it. And obviously there's a negative which you will connect to the body of the car. So yeah, you need to find 2 fuse slots in your fuse box, one with constant power, one with only when the ignition is on. And of course that's important because you want those heating elements to work only when the ignition is on. So if you didn't have a relay and you only connect it to the battery positive, you might leave the car, lock it, and the heating seats will remain on and it will drain your power. So that's how a relay works. It gets constant power from the battery positive, but it will only send power if the other red wire, the ignition on, is getting some current. Okay, all these kits honestly are the same on eBay. They just have different switches. Mine is round with I think 3 levels. So yeah, $40 on eBay for 2 seats. That's a good deal, I would say. I'll be using some fuse taps to connect the constant current and the ignition only somewhere in my fuse box, so we'll see. I have 10 amp fuses as well. I don't know what you call these, but basically to connect wires. So the wiring diagram is a bit weird here. The wires are pretty short, so if I'm putting the switches in my center console, they will not reach the fuse box, and that's why I bought some extra wires. But now that I look at them, they might be short. But anyway, what's important today for me is to put the heating elements in the seats. We also have those. I don't know if I'll end up using them or not, but usually in car upholstery they use those hog ties, and those are hog tie pliers. So as you can see, it's like U-shaped, and when you put it in the plier and you press, it becomes like a full circle, and that's how you kind of connect the leather or the fabric to the seat. So I mentioned I will not be installing the back the heating element in the back of the seat because this piece is actually glued. You can't really just pry it. Basically you will be braking and then you would have to glue it again. So I'm skipping that. I'll be wearing a jacket in the winter anyway, so I just really need to heat kind of the bottom. Now to remove the seat, I'll be removing those plastic trims, and they will expose like bolts. Same on the front. Alright guys, so we'll be removing the seats. There's a good article on Pelican Parts for that. So basically you need to move the seats back and forward, remove the plastic trims and expose those bolts, and you will need an XZN 10mm or 3/8 of an inch in order to loosen them up, and you'll need to remove this plastic cover so you can remove the seat belt buckle. Again, more details are in the article. I'll link it in the description. One very important thing is before you disconnect any electrical wiring of the seats, you have to disconnect the battery negative, or you will trigger the airbags. So I guess what you need to do is move the seats back and forward, remove all 4 bolts for both seats, and only then disconnect the battery and you're ready to remove the seats out of the car. I removed the 4 bolts of all seats. I disconnected the negative of the battery. I put it in like a rubber glove and tucked it in. One thing is I aligned the seat with the end of the rails where they move. You don't want them to be sticking out or to the front or to the back. And yeah, now I'll be pulling the seats out. One quick note about the wire harness: it has a lot of zip ties. You don't really need to remove those. There's only this clip at the back of the seat, and then you slide the harness out, obviously after you disconnect all 3 plugs. The seat is out. I put some weight here because it was rocking back and forth and I want it to be stable. And I'm ready to peel the leather. So if you think replacing the starter is a hard job, well, wait till you do this one. So I removed this plastic trim that comes with the controls. It's just 3 torque screws and 1 here. Obviously disconnect the wire harness. And now to the fun part. So you can see this is like U-shaped, and basically what it does, it goes all the way around and clamps on the metal. So for you to easily remove it, press the cushion and this, like, press the cushion down with one hand and remove this thing with the other, because when you press the cushion down, you kind of like, it's no longer tugged up, it's gonna be more loose, and then you can pull it down and remove it. Okay, this one is easy, but okay, you have these guys all around. So see those holes here? They go on the inside. Oh man, it's so hard to show you guys what's happening here. Let me find one of them. So see these teeth here? And basically they are angled up. So when this goes sounds like I'm writing a PhD. When this goes up, you know, the tooth will go through the hole, and because it's angled up and this is tugging down, it's gonna, you know, get stuck. So in order for you to remove it, I tried many, I have like a plastic transcribing tools. Let me find the one that I used. Where was it? Sorry guys, I have so many things. Was it this one? Nope, that's too, okay, yeah, sorry, here's the one. So you're gonna need this one. And the way it works, you're gonna put it through the hole, pull it away like that, and then, you know, with your other hand you're gonna pull this thing. Obviously you're gonna work one hole at a time, and it's gonna get easier and easier eventually. So yeah, I'm ready to peel now. So sorry, I think coffee from the previous owner. So when you're gonna peel, do that carefully. Actually, you know what guys, let me record the video when I'm done. I don't want to rip things. See you in a bit. Okay, so I haven't peeled anything yet, but I just want you to have a look here. So you will see that the leather is strapped with those, they are called hog rings, and I mentioned in the beginning of the video that you need the hog ring pliers and the hog rings. So I have 3 sizes here. I just put them for demonstration. So I will be using, I think those are called aviator shears, basically to cut the rings, remove the leather, and, you know, put the heating element, and do everything in reverse. As you can see, the leather is now fully removed. So please work slowly when you remove the hog rings. As you can see, you have those small metal rods vertically and horizontally, and what they will do, they'll, you know, you will use the hog rings to clamp them together, right? So horizontally and vertically. Yeah, you're gonna use these guys to cut them, and make sure when you're done that, you know, you remove all the pieces. Otherwise, when you install the leather back, you're gonna sit on it and rip the leather. So again, this is how it looks. All right, fully removed. So actually it was comfortable for me to work when the seat was like this. And another tip, sorry, work every level before moving to the next. So, you know, cut the ring here, cut the rings here, and then there, peel, and then move to the next one. Don't work on one side, okay? Again, this is like foam. You might just rip the rod from its place, and then your leather, when you install it back, is gonna move around. You don't want that. So yeah, I was saying, when I was working vertically like this to cut the rings, it was comfortable, but I think I'm gonna tilt the seat in its like seating position when I will put the heating element. Another thing, usually when they put the heating element, they put the wire going to the back of the seat, but as you can see here, I don't have access, and I don't want to make a hole through the foam, so I'm gonna probably put it like this, right? And where the wire will come here, and then, you know, we'll take it from there. I'll zip it to the original wire to the side where the center console is. But again, you know, I'm recording this video as I'm working, so things might change. We'll see in the next clip. Guys, I'm still trying to figure out what's the best way, and I think this is it. I haven't put any hog rings yet. So remember that, you know, these seams will go down, and they need to be secure, so each one of them has 3 holes. In some other videos, other cars, what they basically do they use a marker to mark this area, then they cut it like a rectangle, and this way the seam goes in. But their kits were wider, or maybe the seat is narrower, so when they do the cut they still have on the left and the right wires going, which will transport the current and activate those heating cells or whatever they're called. But here you can see, if I'm gonna cut the entire seam, then basically I don't have any place where the current will go. So what I'm gonna do is basically just cut mark where the holes are supposed to connect to the rods that go horizontally, and only there I would, sorry, it's out of focus, and only there I would put, like, so I will cut here with an X-Acto knife, like small cut, so the hog ring, hog ring will go through and clamp. So that's my plan. And again, the wire is going from the front of the seat, not the back. It will be like this. I don't think you will feel it. So the leather will come here, and then the plastic trim. Obviously I tucked it in as much as I can, and if you're confused about which side is up or down, you have the tape here. So obviously you want to tape to the foam. All right, moving to the next step. All right, small update. So instead of the hog rings, I decided to go with small zip ties, and the reason is I'm not an electrician, but I think having metal going, like a metal ring going through these wires or whatever is inside, it's not a smart thing. I don't want to short something because of fire. So what I did, again, I tucked it as far as I can, lowered this thing, marked where I want to cut. So I kind of like pushed it in, then to the next one, also like pushed it in and marked. So once I do, so I'm gonna remove it, make the cuts with an X-Acto knife, and then I will tape the first part, put the zip ties. So before I put the heating element first, I'm gonna pass all the zip ties through the rods. So this, so basically I'll be preparing them. This way I don't have to struggle with it. And again, be careful, you don't want to pull things out of the foam. Okay, so I prepared the holes, and I actually managed to avoid cutting any of the wires. So what I did is I would put my finger where I marked, and then on the back, as you can see, I would use the X-Acto knife in a place that's closest to that mark, but avoiding the wires. Okay, next is preparing the zip ties. Okay, now I'm ready to put the first seam in. As you can see, the zip ties are going through the holes, and now they're gonna go here. I'm still probably gonna use hog rings on the sides and zip ties in the middle. Remember how I prepped these to go up through the hole? So don't do that. Instead, pass the zip tie first through here and then go down. It's harder, but the reason why is, let me show you. This thing, sorry, it's not focusing. If you first prep like I'm doing here, the lock of the zip tie is gonna be on the top, right? It's gonna be here, which means you're gonna sit on it and you're gonna feel it. While if you start in the reverse, so if you put it here first and go down, then the lock will be at the bottom in the foam and you're not gonna feel it. Again, it's tight, it's hard, but yeah, that's the right way to do it. So I'm gonna change these. I put the zip ties, and the ones that I have here, they're short, so make sure you buy longer ones, and this way you can, so you have 2 on the sides and 3 in the middle, so 5 in total. This way you can prep all of them and pass them, and just kind of pass a couple of threads through the lock just to lock them. So when you have long ones, it's much easier to work on all 5. Mine was short, so it was harder. So now I have them all locked on the first 2 threads, and now I'm gonna tighten as much as I can, and I found that the easiest way to cut the extra after the lock is with these guys. Again, be very careful, you don't want to cut through the leather, okay? Work slowly, be patient. Alright guys, now it's fully installed, taped. I did end up using zip ties also on the sides. They're just so much easier. Again, if you have longer zip ties, it'll make it even much easier. Just secure the 5 zip ties and then tighten, cut, and so on. So now I have it here. Now I'm gonna put the leather back, tighten everything, put the trim, and we'll see how it looks. The seats are back, the battery is connected. Now you need to put back all the 4 bolts, torque them to 33 feet something, whatever. Yeah, you can see it again in the article of Pelican parts. First screw things with your hands, and only after that use the torque wrench. You don't want to cross thread your bolts. I'm trying to identify 2 fuse slots, one with constant power, one only when the ignition is on. The way you do it, you take a multimeter, you put it on DC, you put the black probe on ground, and then for each slot you test both sides. It will have like 2 poles, one of them will have current. So as you can see now, the slot that I chose has 12 volts, and that's when the key is in. So sorry, I'm gonna put my phone real quick to the side. Okay, so now I remove the key. Now you'll see that it's a 0, which means this slot, which is 2nd row from the top, 1st one from the left, has current only when the ignition is on. Okay, now I need to identify another one that always has current. So when the key is out, with the same test, one of the 2 sides of that fuse slot should have like a 12 volt. So yeah, that's how you identify using a multimeter. Okay, so again, this is 0 now when I pull the key, but when I put the key in, this slot will have 12 volts, right? And here's the one with the constant current. It's 2nd row from the top, 5th from the left. So you can see the key is out and it's giving me 12 volts. It means there is current, constant current, right? So to summarize, 2nd row from the top, 1st from the left is ignition only, and 2nd row from the top, 5th from the left has current always. Okay, so that's how you'll connect the relay that came with the heating kit. The red line that has a fuse on it goes to the constant power, which is the 5th from the left, and the other red wire, which is ignition only, will go to the 1st slot, like from the left, which has ignition only. Now to wire the switches. So unfortunately, the round switches that I have, they don't fit here in those like rectangular squares. So what I think I will do is I will drill 2 holes here. So I will be removing the center console. So you need to remove these 2 hex screws, lift this plastic trim. Okay, now since I will be removing this piece entirely, and this is in the way to lift this, you basically pull the button away. Okay, not too much, you don't want to break it, because inside there's like it's like a tongue that sticks into the stick. So you remove it away, then you wiggle your way up. Okay, and once this is out, then yeah, you can just lift this thing, and when you lift it, you need to disconnect the wire harness that connects to this part. You pull it out, and then we'll see Honestly, I'm a bit bummed. I didn't want to like drill through like OEM things, but anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, I'll wire the two wires that came from the seat into the center, put the relay somewhere here where there's empty space, put the switches here, and then have the wires kind of come out of here to the bottom, all through, and to the fuse box. All right, well, we'll see what happens in the next clip. Update on the wiring under the seat. Do you see this white plastic clip where the light is? So basically, the wires coming from the heating element to that clip. I mean, Porsche already had a cable there, so I figured if they're using it, then I'm gonna use that clip. It won't get in the way of any moving parts. So I put the cable there, took it to the side, right? And now, after removing the center console, I placed the relay deep down here, and I'll have the switches here, okay? Sorry, let me just move my seat to the back a bit. Okay, so first you put the relay, then you take these cables, you pass them under this guy, under this foam, under this guy, and they come here. So basically, you know, you have for your passenger seat and driver seat, so pass them through here. Sorry, it's dark, but you can pass them and they will basically come out of the side. Now you need to tuck this thing in under because this, whatever you want to call it, like a tray of the trim, this is where it sits, right? So tuck them under here, there's plenty of space. And these cables, they're nylon, right? They're slippery. So even if initially you didn't give enough, when you move the seats back and forth, they're just gonna slip through more, and yeah, you're basically good. As for these guys, you know, just if your relay has a yellow wire, you don't need it. I think it's just a general relay they use for everything. You just need the two red wires and the black. So pull them out through here, and you know, just follow the trim around and under until you reach your fuse box. I'll show the wiring in the fuse box in the next clip. So again, just to summarize, tuck the relay in here, put the wires under the two black things. Yeah, one goes to the left, one to the right, and use that white plastic clip. Right now I'm just gonna put back these things, and remember I told you when you want to remove the gear knob, so you have to pull the button that you usually press to change the gear, because that button has like a thing that goes through this hole. So that's why you pull it out. Again, don't pull hard, just pull a bit, and then wiggle as you're holding it away. Just pull, like wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Don't be, you know, this is plastic, okay? Don't break this stuff. Wiggle until you pull it. This thing, you probably need like just a plastic trim prying tool just to pull it out. Honestly, I mean, it's just for me, it was more comfortable to remove it so I can, you know, navigate through. But even if you put it, you can probably do it. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's better to remove it. Anyway, that's the wiring. So like I mentioned, I tucked the wires here. I ended up removing this panel here. It only has one Torx and then two clips. So you pry them and then you slide it out. One tip that I want to give you is to take the wires and put them above this vent. Two reasons. One, you don't want the wires in the way of the vents. And another, this light, the footwell light, gets really hot here. So if your wire is touching it, it's gonna melt. So as you can see here, I took it above, and there is this hole, so I put zip ties, and then I took it out. So as you can see, I passed it, whatever this is, above it, and now I have my 3 wires ready. So, you know, the black will go to this plate or this, whatever I can drill, or yeah, I'll find a place to put it. I'll update you guys. Right, here's the final fuse wiring. So in my video I mentioned fuses 1 and 5, slots 1 and 5. Actually I meant fuses 1 and 5. So for the ignition only, use the second row first slot. For the constant, use second row 7th slot from the left. Okay, not 5th. 5th is actually the, what I meant by 5th is the 5th fuse, I think. Anyway, so first slot is for the ignition only, and 7th slot is for constant power. Okay. As for the ground, there's a pre-drilled hole here, like these. So I put a bolt and a nut, put my ground there, and tighten it really hard. Okay. Okay, so I finished drilling the holes for the switches. As you can see, I'm clamped it here. Put a weight. Use something called step drill bit, but unfortunately, so this helps you making like circles. Unfortunately, the biggest circle was still smaller than the switch, so I had to kind of like put it and wiggle it, you know, in a circular way, very slowly, of course, and then you know, I would like put and test and look, okay, where do I need to remove, and then I use my X-Acto knife to smoothen the sides that's still needed. And obviously when you put it, make sure it's still clickable, because if the hole is kind of like, let's say, 0.5 millimeter tight, and it's very tight on the button, then it will not click. So I had to like pull out again, use my X-Acto knife in certain areas and put it back in. Man, this was scary. Oof. And yeah, they look aligned, like I used the ruler and everything. We'll see. But yeah, not the most comfortable thing to do, drilling through an OEM trim. One small hiccup I got is after I drilled the holes and put the plugs, if you try to put them, they will not go because they will hit this plastic piece, which was here. So I removed it, and they were still hitting the kind of, oops, the sides, like those things that have the hole where the bolt that holds that plastic goes into. So I had to saw it off. I just used like a metal saw. They're plastic, but you know, like you just remove the blade and it's more convenient. So now it should work. So it's like it's up to you really. I wanted aesthetically the buttons to be in the middle kind of this thing, right? If you put the button higher here, it probably will not hit, but it will not look nice. So the decision is yours.